Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in the last playlist that I provided, we studied about Azure tags, Azure storage services and types of storages in Azure, redundancy types and pricing calculator, etc. So now in this playlist, we are going to know more about the creation of the storage account, what is public and private blobs, how the static website hosting is done in this storage account, how is it accessible by the users that are allowed, what is soft delete in storage. So all these topics we are going to cover in this video. So let's begin with the creation of the storage account first. Let's go to the Azure portal now. Okay, so first we are going to create a resource group here, and after resource group we will create a new storage account. So I will create it in a bucket for you guys. Okay, so the resource group is created now, and I am creating the storage account, a new storage account. So let's go with the practical and creation of the new storage account. So here I've selected the subscription, resource group name, and when it comes to storage account name, it has to be a very unique name. No two users can have a same storage account name. Okay, so like for example, you have a Gmail account. When you want to create one more Gmail with the same username, it will throw an error to you, so that you can add any unique numbers or the name to create a new user for your Gmail. Similarly, you should have a unique storage account name. Okay. So now we will select the region, and if I'm stopping the recording wherever it is not required. Okay, so by default we are going to keep this redundancy type as local redundant, and then we'll move to tags. Okay, so now the storage account has been deployed here. So once we have a storage account deployed, here we can check the redundancy. You can see there is a primary region and the secondary region, which is Central India, and the secondary region is taken by default. So we don't select the secondary region manually. It is automatically taken from the Azure itself. Okay, so you can see during the failover or any disaster, it will automatically get switched to your secondary data center, and the data that you have stored in your storage account will be retrieved, or you can say you'll be able to access those data from here. Okay. Okay, so now after this storage account, where we can see that the redundancy we have selected it as GRS, and the storage account is a standard storage account. Okay, so now we are going to learn about the premium storage account, and we will see the difference between the standard and premium storage account. Okay, so now we are going to create one more storage account. You can see that the performance I have selected it as premium. Okay, so the premium account type we will select here. Okay, so under redundancy, you can see now only we have two types of redundancy, because in premium we only have LRS and ZRS. So the region that we have selected is Central India. So only one region that we have selected. Okay, so now we will go to tags. We'll fill all the tags and then we'll review and create it. Okay, so validation is in progress. So meanwhile it is deploying. I'm again going to stop the recording, and the deployment is in progress. So I will resume the recording once it is completed. So I will resume the recording once it is completed. Okay, the deployment is complete for this storage account, premium one. Okay, so now we have deployment completed. So let's show you this storage account now. Okay, so this is the premium storage account that we have created. You can see under this data storage we have the containers in the premium. We don't have table and queues, etc. For data storage we have containers here. So it's a kind of blob storage account. So it only supports your container, which is blob. It is not supported for any other data storage type. Okay, like we have seen in the standard storage account. Tables, queues, etc. are not supported here. So in premium, basically we have an option while creating this storage account that we can select the file shares, blob. So right now we selected blob, so we have containers. Okay, so in the storage account, we have a blob kind of storage, and the containers is a kind of a box where you store all your data. Okay, in your, you can say in a stack format, it's a box kind of thing where you store all your data. Inside your blob we have a containers. Okay, so before going ahead to move to the static web hosting, I would like to show you one more thing in one of the storage account. If we in future, if we want to change the redundancy type for the storage account, we can go ahead and change the redundancy type of any of the storage account from here. Okay, so let's suppose this is one storage account and we want to change the redundancy type. So let's go to redundancy, and once we went to redundancy, from LRS we can change it to GRS or zone redundancy as per our requirement. Let's suppose we are selecting geo redundant. So we can also select geo priority replication, which means that it is guaranteeing that your data will be geo replicated, means one more region will be created, a secondary region where your data will be available, and it can be available during the time of any disaster. Will make sure that your data is available up to 99.0%, which is high availability. So it is providing you high availability. So at any point of time you can change GRS, although definitely the pricing will be very high because it is giving you an additional feature. So the pricing will be high as compared to LRS. So again, if you forgot or you need to change redundancy in future from the already created storage account, you can do it from here. Okay, so once the redundancy change is completed, see, the secondary region is automatically created and the region is decided by the Azure. So automatically one region has been assigned, South India. So we selected Central India during the creation of the storage account, but for South India it has already taken, means randomly taken the region. Okay, so we will now have a demo of hosting a static website on a storage account. So we all agree if we want to host our website, we would need servers with particular configurations, maintenance of their hardwares, etc. Even if we talk about virtual machines in Azure, we would have to scale out, scale in. We have to deploy the virtual machine with particular configuration and the disk and everything. Okay, so when it comes to storage, we don't have to do all those activities. So it is saving our time as well as our labor for doing that, and it provide a seamless solution to host our website, okay, on the storage account. So let's see how it is doing it. It is going to save our so much of manual work that we normally do while creating the virtual machines or the websites or hosting the websites on the servers. Okay, so let's create a new storage account here. See, it is giving an error that my website is already taken. So as I already mentioned, it should be very unique name of any of the storage accounts. So we are creating a new storage account for hosting a static website. So I've selected here LRS, and the region I'm selecting Central India only. And let's go with the standard performance of the storage account. Let's fill all the tags that we would like to give and then review and create. Okay, so the deployment was in progress, and let me refresh it to see our new storage account. Okay, so we have a storage account. We can see my website November. So let's go and open that storage account. Okay, so now in our storage account, we will go to our static website and we will place the HTML file that contains our static website. It is static, it is not dynamic, so it cannot be changed. It is just the static website. So we will use that particular HTML link. We'll click on enable. We went on data management and then clicked on static website, and here we can put our document name, which holds our HTML static website. And the error document path is nothing but the path of the HTML, you can say the path that it should follow when there is any kind of failure in your static website. Okay, so we are going to place that document name here. So let's suppose I have put in my HTML as a document file. I have named my document as index.html that contains my static website, and the document error.html which holds the path for the error when we have the error in the website. Okay, so it should follow this path. Let me save this. Okay, so you can see that it has automatically taken the primary endpoint, which is our storage account name that we have given. So it automatically takes from here. Okay, so we have static website URL generated from here, and let it be saved. Once it is saved, we will go ahead and move to paste our code inside the blob, where the web container will be automatically created after this, because our static website will be hosted in the web container. We will go to blob, which is created as web, and then we'll paste our code, or you can say we'll upload our files, the document that the name we have given there in the static website, which is index.html, and the error.html. Also we'll place the style.css, which has the coding. So we'll select the document from here: error.html, index.html, and style.css. We'll upload all three files. So you can see that the files has been uploaded. Now we'll go to our URL and we'll check if we are able to access this website from here. Okay, so let's go to your storage account and then static website. Copy your URL, which is your primary endpoint for this particular static website that is auto-generated, and then we'll hit on the Chrome. And then we'll hit on the Chrome, and you can see that it says welcome to my static website. So it is showing you the page of your website. So let's suppose you are hosting your so if you are creating the static website for your client, for your project, will you be using the storage account for hosting your static website, or you'll be using the server, which is giving you so much of manual task? Obviously you'll go with the storage account, right? So because it is taking a less time, low labor, and no manual task. Also, at the time of the zonal or your regional failures, you are assured that your static website will keep on working, because you have a backup of redundancy wherein it can be restored from the other region, and it will be giving you the high availability, right? So let's suppose someone has made any kind of changes to our static website and it has stopped working. So we already have the error.html that will automatically route to that page, and your user will get to know that there is something wrong with this website and it is not working. So definitely I cannot show you some kind of removing the any kind of the error in our static website, but I can definitely remove the file from there. So I can remove the document file from here. So if someone has made any changes that has made your website unstable, so what we can do is, we already have the error.html. So I'm just showing you how this error HTML will be used. So I've deleted the main file, okay, so that if you hit the website, it can go by default to error.html. So let's see what happens now when I have deleted the main file. So now when we are hitting our website, it is giving you 404 page not found. So it gives the information to the user that there is something wrong to this website and it is not working. Okay. Okay, so this was all about the creation of the storage account and your static website hosting in your storage account and accessibility to it. Okay, so now we'll move to the more information about the blob storage account. Okay, what is blob storage account, so that we can also study about the public and the private blob. Okay, so let's to begin with your blob storage account. We should first know about what is blob storage account. Okay, so while creating this storage account, I have already shown you the different types of ways where the data can be stored in your Azure storage account, which is Blob, in which the containers are present. Apart from Blob, we have file shares, we have tables, we have queues. So all these are the kind of the data storage features of your Azure storage account. So let's start talking about the Blob storage. So Blob storage is a kind of a storage that is provided by your Microsoft or your Azure to store massive amount of your unstructured data. Okay, unstructured means it is not in a form of the tables or queues or any particular structure that it follows. So we can store it, we means any unstructured data, okay, that is not following any kind of any data model or any kind of text or binary or anything, that can be stored in your blob storage. Like we can use this data storage to store files, for images, for documents, and I've already shown that we can use it for static website hosting, which means that documents can be directly accessed to the browser. We can write the log files, we can store the backups, restore, archiving, any kind of analysis that we have performed in your on premises or any Azure service. We can store all those things in your blob storage. That is the key feature of your blob storage. Okay, but you can say the any applications that are being used by the clients can also access those objects that we have stored in a blob storage, and it can be accessed from anywhere in the world. It can be accessed directly to the browser, it can be accessed via https. Okay, so these client libraries, if I talk about, we can see that it is present in a different languages. Okay, so the different language, if I talk about, it is .NET, Java, Node.js, Python. So it support all those languages. Okay, so every object that is stored in your blob storage can be accessed via HTTP, HTTPS, any kind of APIs, PowerShell, CLI commands. Okay, and that can be stored in a different languages. So we can use different kind of languages while we are storing the data. Okay, so if I talk about the blob storage resources, we have already seen the creation of the storage account, and inside storage account we have a container in the storage account, and in the container we store a blob. Okay, that blob is the actual data that you store in your container in your storage accounts. Okay, so I'll again repeat myself that storage account, we give a unique namespace. We have already seen in our demo classes. Okay, the unique name, whatever it is given, then the default endpoint will become like .blob.co.windows.net. Okay, so this is the default URL that is generated for the name of the storage account that you have given actually. Okay, so that is actually the combination of your account name and your blob storage endpoint, so that that particular file that you have uploaded in your blob can be accessible over the internet, over HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, so I hope that I'm cleared about what is Azure Blob Storage and its features and its blob services, which is private blob and public blob. So let's go and study about private blob and public blob in detail. Okay, so let's start with the public versus private blob. So let's start with the private blob first. Okay, so this is the blob storage, and the kind of the blob storage is a private blob storage. And as the name suggests, this is privately accessible. Okay, so basically the anonymous user are not allowed to access this blob object. Okay, only the authenticated user, or there is a kind of a security or a privacy level that is maintained when we talk about the private blob object. There are certain kinds of security parameters that are placed. Let's suppose there is an anonymous user and he or she is trying to access the private blob object over the internet. Okay, so when that particular traffic goes from the internet to private blob object, what happens? Due to the level of security over the private blob, it automatically gets denied. Okay, so there is a access denial due to invalid authorization. Okay, because that particular user is not registered, or his IP or his or her IP is not registered to access the private blob object, because we have one layer of security over our private blob object. Okay, so the access from any kind of anonymous user over the internet will be denied. Okay, so there will be a access denial when we talk about the access from anonymous user, because it is not authenticated. It has an invalid authentication. Okay, So there is an access denied due to invalid authentication because it's an anonymous user that is trying to access the private blob object over the internet. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about the another user which we will consider as a authenticated user. Okay, so let's suppose this is an authenticated user. This user is an authenticated user and he or she is trying to access the private blob object over the internet. Then what happens is when the authenticated user is trying to access the private blob object, he or she will be allowed to use the private blob object. So his authentication or her authentication will not be denied. Okay. So its access will be allowed. So by default, Azure makes blob storage account secured. It does not allow to access even public blob storage. Okay. So we have to make or we have to change many settings in order to get access to it. Okay, so here the access is allowed when we talk about authenticated user, and it is not allowed when we talk about the anonymous user. And again, I am repeating, by default, Azure Blob make Blob storage very secured and it does not allow to access even public Blob storage. Okay, so we have to make many settings or change many settings in order to get access to it. Okay, so let's talk about the public Blob object. Okay, so as I already mentioned that public Blob object is also secured by default by the Azure. Okay. So if a particular public object is there, so it is publicly accessible over the internet. So any anonymous user will be able to access the public blob over the internet. Okay. So any anonymous user will be able to access this public blob over the internet because this public blob is made available publicly. Okay. So this person or this user will be able to access your data that is stored in your public blob object as it is publicly available. Okay. So the information that I mentioned earlier, it's like blob, a public blob is also made as secured by default from Azure. So it's like we can create a private blob inside your public object. Okay. So that I'll discuss it again after this. So here if I talk about public blob, so the access is allowed without an authentication. Okay, so there is no authentication required. There are no checks because there is no one level up security which is present in your public blob object. Okay, so it is accessible. We don't need any kind of authentication for the users. Okay, so again, what I mentioned earlier is by default, Azure makes your blob storage secured and it does not allow to access even public blob storage. So we have to make certain kind of change in settings in order to get access to your public blob. So it's a kind of shared responsibility. So let's suppose you have placed any of your data in your public blob and you have made it public, then who will be responsible, Azure or you? Definitely it will be you who will be responsible because by default Azure is making one private blob inside your public blob object. Even if you have selected public blob, it is by default giving you the private security. But if you have made certain change in the settings and you have made it public and your data is publicly accessible, then definitely it will be your responsibility. So we can definitely say that it is security is a shared responsibility of both user and the cloud provider. Okay, so to in order to enhance or in order to makes the security available to public, there is a by default option that the all the data are made or the all the data are stored inside the public blob storage are being secured and it does not allow access even the blobs even the public blob storage. So within public blob we can make our folder private. Okay. Okay, so let's now do the demo of what we studied theoretically. Okay, so let's now do the demo of what we studied theoretically right now. So let us go ahead and create a new storage account. Okay, so let's go to storage center and create a new storage account. Let's select the resource group, storage account name. Region, we'll keep it as Central India only. So let's select the redundancy as LRS. Okay, so can you see in advance we have a settings like allow enabling anonymous access to individual containers. So you can see that by default, this particular option is disabled. So there is no enabling of your anonymous user that can access your individual containers. So even if you are creating public blob or you are creating private, by default, Azure does not allow any anonymous access to the individual containers. So by right now, let's keep it as disabled only. We are not going to make any changes to this particular settings. So let's move to the tags, fill in all the tags and then review create, and we'll create the storage account. Okay, so let's click on create. Okay, so the deployment has been started. Let's wait for the storage account to be deployed. Okay, so the new storage account that we have created, let's open that. And if we go in containers, we can see that the anonymous access level is automatically mentioned as private, right? So let's add one more container here. You can see that the anonymous access level is by default private. So when in storage account we are creating new container, we can see anonymous user access is disabled by default. So hence we have selected the private blob. So the access level is set to private because the anonymous access is disabled on this storage account. Okay. So we can give a new name to this container, but by default the anonymous access level will be private because we did not disable that option, right? We have not disabled that option. That was automatically set by Azure. So again, I'm telling that we have not enabled this option. Hence, by default, it will be taken as a private blob. So we can identify that this is a private blob because the anonymous access level is grayed out. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and check whether we are able to access any kind of data that is being uploaded inside this private container or not, whether we are able to access those documents publicly or not, or over the internet or not. So let's name it as document. So I've named this particular container as a document. Let's go to document and upload any one file here. So in private blob, we will upload a document. URL will be then generated in order to access that URL on website. So let's see if it will be publicly accessible or not. So I've uploaded one blob here, one data. And once the data is uploaded, let's copy. This is the URL that will be generated for the data that we have uploaded. So let's see if we are able to access this particular document over the website or not. Okay, so again I'm showing this is private. This is showing anonymous access level is private. So let's go and check. Let's copy this URL. Okay, so I have copied this URL from here. Let's go to our browser and paste that URL here. Let's see if we are able to access or not. See, access denied as we have created a private blob. Okay, so we can only use or we can only make this website used over the internet while making the settings. We have to make that settings anonymous user enabled. Okay, so let's see how we'll do that. Okay, so now let's make these settings from the storage account and make it public. So making or enabling it public does not means it will change your private blob to public. It will give you or enable the option of anonymous user where you can enable and disable. Right now it was grayed out. So from here we have allow blob anonymous access. We have clicked on enable. We have saved the settings and see we are still accessing this private blob, but it is not accessible. Okay, because still the anonymous access level is private. Okay, so now when we'll create a new container, we will have an option to select or to choose whether we want to have the anonymous access level as private or we want to go with public access. Okay, from here it will not make your private blob public. Okay, it will just give you an option which is grayed out. You can select in your future containers, in your future documents that you'll upload, you will have an option to select whether you want to keep it as anonymous or not. Okay, so let's go to storage account and click on containers again. Okay, oh, it got disabled by default. Again, I'm saving this settings to allow blob anonymous access. Let's go to containers once again. Let's try creating new container. See, now this option is enabled. For creating a new container, you can select whether you want to make it blob or whether you want to make it private. So now I'm creating a new container where I'll be uploading one document, which is images. I will upload a document here. So this is uploaded. Now let's try to access the document with the URL that will be generated. Let me copy this and let's go to our web browser. Okay, see, now this is accessible over the internet because we have selected the anonymous user access or the blob user access. Okay, just to make it again summarize, when we will make settings to storage account like allow anonymous user, then we will get option to choose when we upload document as if we want to make it public or not. Okay, so the settings will be enabled after we make changes in configuration of the storage account itself. So by default it is always private. We can make settings change in the storage account itself and then that particular option will get highlighted, so it will be us who will be responsible for the access level of your blob account that you'll be uploading in your containers. Okay, after making the settings. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So we'll quickly move to our last topic of this video, which is soft delete. Okay, so let's create a new storage account from here. Let me select the resource group. Let's give the storage account name as soft delete. Okay, let's select the region, keep it as standard and LRS. Let's move to data protection now. Okay, so data protection, you can see that the enable soft delete for blob was automatically selected, so it's a kind of preventive mechanism for your accidental deletion of your blob storage. So in data protection we can make these settings. By default, soft delete option is always enabled. So enable soft delete for container and object or document that is inside your containers. So any kind of individual data or complete container is deleted. So we have 7 default days option to restore that particular data that has been deleted and the containers that has been deleted. So by default it is 7 days, but we can change these days as 365 as a maximum days. So by default this enable soft delete is enabled by Azure so that we can have restore of deleted data that has been accidentally deleted. So if any deletion is happening, we can restore data inside the container and we can even restore the deleted containers, complete deleted containers. So when we have created this particular storage account or we have deleted any containers or deleted, it gives an option where we can see show active or deleted blob and data option. Okay, so we can undo what is deleted. Okay, so let this storage account be created first, then I'll show you where you can see those active and deleted blobs or containers. Okay, so let's suppose this storage account has this my container and I am deleting this container, complete container. Okay, so let me delete. I have confirmed deleting this container. Okay, so can you see we have an option show active and deleted containers. Okay, so there are no item found, it shows right now. Okay, so let's go in data protection. So I'm enabling the soft delete for blobs and containers. So it was when I created the storage account, it was not enabled. So that's why we are unable to see that particular deleted container that I deleted right now. So while we go in data protection and we have enabled these settings again, then when we delete the containers, we'll be able to see the deleted or the active containers both, and then we can restore that containers that has been accidentally deleted or the blobs. It is applicable for both containers and blobs. Okay. Okay, so let's suppose I am deleting again. After making settings in data protection, I am deleting this blob again. Okay, so one blob has been deleted. Let's see if it shows the deleted blob right now or not after changing the data protection setting of enabling the soft delete. So can you see when I clicked on show active and deleted blobs, we can see that the retention day is now 6 and it is the status is deleted. So now if we want to undo it, we can undelete it and make it as a active blob that we have deleted. Okay. Hope this class has cleared all your doubts. Whatever the topic I have covered, everything is clear to you guys. If you have any issues and concern, you're always welcome to post in our that you are liking my videos. Please show your like. Please subscribe my channel so that you can get these kind of teaching classes and you can relate with the information that I'm giving you, and you can learn from it and grow. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll meet in the next class now. Bye bye.